Hey everyone, this is Walter, and I'm back here with more stories I found on Reddit. Today we're going to be asking ourselves, who is wrong in these stories I'll be reading? Reddit Am I the Asshole is the place where you can post your stories from real life and ask who is wrong to random Redditors who probably spend a lot of time reading this kind of shit. Well anyway, let's just begin with stories from Reddit Am I the Asshole. Today we're starting with a wedding story, as usual, but this one is especially infuriating. Am I the asshole for flipping out on my fiancé for canceling all the vegan food options from our wedding food menu behind my back? My fiancé, 31 male, and I, 25 female, are getting married soon. There wasn't much that disagreed on during the wedding planning, except for food. Me and my family are vegans, and there are so many reasons why we chose this lifestyle, and one of them being that we have a history of health issues. My fiancé and his family are the complete opposite. They're hardcore meat eaters, which is fine by me, obviously. However, when deciding on the wedding food menu, I wanted to add 4 to 5 vegan options. My fiancé and his mom objected, saying it was a waste of money over food that isn't real food. And they also argued that this would be offensive for their guests, and suggested my vegan options just be the good old salads and appetizers. His mom wanted cupcakes, lol. I said no, because for one, it's me and my family who's paying, and 2, I want to make my guests feel welcome and not be treated as second-class citizens by being served salad. My fiancé made a face and said, "Isn't that what vegans eat?" I refused to argue about it and said it was final. You know, if it was vegans who didn't want meat at their wedding because they think it's cruel, I wouldn't agree with them, but at least I could see where they're coming from. Meat eaters being offended by vegan options they're not even paying for makes literally no sense. I almost thought it might be swapped, but the story actually gets more annoying. The other day, I found out he had canceled all the vegan options and took them off the menu completely and behind my back. I was seething. I called him at work, but he kept hanging up on me. I went straight to his workplace and confronted him there and just flipped out on him. He was stunned to see me. He at first said it was his mom's idea, then told me to go home because I was making a scene at the office. The fight continued at home and he defended himself by saying that I sort of made him resort to doing this after I kept brushing off his thoughts and input, and refusing to accommodate his family. But there were plenty of meat options. Why can't I get 4 to 5 vegan options when I'm paying for it? He yelled that it was his wedding too, not my family's. My family said it was fine and they'll figure it out and told me to let it go, but I refused. Am I the asshole for putting my foot down on this? I like how he's supposed to be marrying this vegan woman and apparently has no idea what she eats. Anyway, she needs to abort this marriage. If she can't even put her foot down on one thing at her own fucking wedding, a thing that she is paying for, then what the hell's going to happen after they get married? This mother-in-law is going to run this woman's life. And the man is a mama's boy, one of those terms you aren't supposed to use on Am I the Asshole? I know people often overuse terms like mama's boy and incel, but sometimes the shoe just fits too perfectly. Now he's trying to convince her she was acting crazy at his office. No, crazy is what I would do if you went behind my back with this kind of bullshit. Thankfully there's an update confirming this mother-in-law is even worse than expected. Update, so his mom messaged me earlier to try to get me to listen to what she had to say after I kept ignoring her phone calls. She spent long walls of text just to address what I did at her son's workplace, calling it all kinds of stuff from immature to unhinged. She then went to explain how she's noticed that me and my family kept acting dismissive of her son's input and contributions to the wedding. She said that she noticed my behavior towards him and her entire family and wanted to speak up earlier, but didn't, and tried to keep the peace. She then went on to address the food menu issue and denied her involvement in the cancellation of the vegan options. But that didn't mean she doesn't support her son's decision. Moreover, she thought it was so responsible of him to make that move because of my continual refusal to see how this stuff is a waste of money. She also pointed out how I kept saying I paid for it and said that technically this isn't just my money. It's mine and his because we're getting married. She suggested I wise up and get rid of my money I paid for it mentality. She finally mentioned how bad this whole situation is making me look and said that she and her son had already offered a number of compromises that I chose to brush off and decided to make it my weird hill to die on. She said that not only her son is upset, but she and the family are as well after hearing about it, and suggested I just agree on their compromise and be done with it. This pissed me off beyond belief. I responded by letting her know that I'm still standing my ground on this, even if I'll have to call the whole wedding off because of it, because honestly, this is just ridiculous. It is. My mom and dad, they don't even know what to say anymore. Apparently my fiancé saw my response to her, he's with her, and is now trying to call me, but right now I'm waiting on him to get home and see if he's still insisting on the stance he took. I'll update if there's anything worth adding after we talk. Man, I wish all the worst to this mother and her family. The only compromise she wants is complete capitulation. They should go sit in the corner and eat their salads. She says it's not the OP's money, but I bet she doesn't see her precious son's money as mutual property yet. I can't even imagine sitting there and letting my mom bitch out my partner. This guy's a pathetic piece of shit. The silver lining is that he let his true colors show before the wedding. Would have been a lot messier otherwise. Perhaps I'm talking too much. This one really annoyed me though. Not the asshole. So he, 1, has no clue what vegans actually eat and no interest in learning. 2, believes having food for your family is offensive to theirs, while having no food for your family is perfectly fine. 3, doesn't respect your input and your money. 4, makes decisions about matters important to you behind your back. 5, either can't stand up to his mom or uses her as his scapegoat. There's a lot of things to be really angry about. Why are you marrying this guy again? The OP didn't post anymore, but here's one comment that she did leave. Good for you. Marriage is about compromise, and it doesn't sound like your ex is interested in compromising, or even letting you have a say in things. That isn't a partnership. Thank you. And you're right. Honestly, I felt kind of hesitant about posting an update. In fact, I was hesitant about posting my situation as a whole. Normally, I'm not the type to share my private business online, but I was desperate. Like I said, there were times where his family made me feel like I was taking crazy pills. Honestly, and I'm gonna say this anyway, I hate them. They always made me feel like an outsider and a stranger. Never really warmed up to me and instead pretended to like me, but it was obvious they resented me. They claim I'm a covert fat-phobic, but in reality, I got mocked along with my family for being underweight due to health issues I'd mentioned before. Don't even get me started on ex-future mother-in-law. Though I feel as though I gotta let it all out and vent. Okay, that was pretty crazy, so let me know what you think about it if you want. But let's move on. Am I the asshole for refusing to talk to my sibling? My sister. I'll call her T here. Oh god, we're doing the letter thing. Let me just assign a name. Tess. She can be Tess. My sister, I'll call her Tess here, has always been more successful than me, especially academically. I have certain learning disabilities, but I am in no way dumb. I just need more instructions for me to be able to complete certain tasks. Tess always seemed to believe that she is better than me because of this, to the extent that she would say it to my face, and honestly, I couldn't really argue with her because our parents took her side. A few years ago, Tess failed to get into Oxford, her dream university, but still ended up at a very good university. At the time, I was working my butt off with schoolwork because I also wanted to get into a very good university and make my family, including her, proud of me. I managed to graduate high school in the top of my class. I applied to multiple universities, one of them being Cambridge. I didn't think I would be able to get in, even with good grades in high school and extra activities, but it was my dream university. To my surprise, I managed to get into 4 of the 5 universities I applied for, Cambridge being one of the 4. I was very happy about it, but Tess was not. She came into my room and started crying and shouting at me because I got into a university that was more prestigious than hers. She told me that if I was a good sibling, I wouldn't mind going to a less-known university, and started saying stuff like, "How could you do something like this to me? I am the smart child. You hate me, don't you? I bet you'll fail and drop out with that pathetic IQ of yours." I barely spoke to her after that, and when I moved out, I blocked her on every social media I had. My parents are very mad at me, saying that I should at least talk to her and let her apologize, and tell me that she acted that way because she was just very angry in that moment and didn't mean it. They say I'm being very immature, but that was the last straw for me, and I don't want to talk with her, even though it's been almost a year since we had the fight. Edit, for people upset that I said graduate high school, I am an international student. Where I am from, we refer to finishing high school as graduating high school because we consider it a pretty big deal. Okay, first off, what are we supposed to call that ceremony at the end of high school, where people wear gowns and caps and receive a diploma? What do these randos on Reddit suggest we call it, if not a graduation? I do like her sister yelling about IQ. It's a good thing we let people into college based on IQ, right? Oh wait, we use a metric that actually matters a little more, like test scores and recommendations. I'd also like to say that luck is a skill, one heavily involved in things like getting into college, or making it on YouTube, actually, along with hard work. Intellect isn't everything. I think this reply from the OP is important. She is older than me, and she was doing her master's when it happened. My god, she storms in to bitch out her teenage sister for getting into a good school. She should have just responded with, "Wah, wah, wah." I know, it's easier to come up with what to say in my script than it is in person at the time. It's almost like universities can tell the difference between a naturally gifted/smart child and a hard-working young adult who has proven their worth. Not the asshole. Your sister is super toxic. Who bullies someone with a learning disability, especially their own sibling? You deserve the prestigious opportunity you've been given and should not back down from it. Maybe, just maybe, later down the road she realizes how immature she is and sincerely apologizes. I hope everything works out for you and hope you do well at university. Happy studying. The OP does not think her sister sincerely wants to apologize, by the way. Anyway, it's up to her. She doesn't have to hear her sister out, and the parents are probably making their favorite pretty obvious at this point. Congrats to the OP. I found this next one on Reddit Nice Guys, but it does appear to be from Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for protecting my friend from her male classmate? I, 23 male, have a close friend named Julia, 22 female, who goes to school with me. We have been friends since we were both freshmen in college, and I often feel responsible for her well-being and safety. Is that a normal way to feel about your friend? He already sounds like a nice guy. Last week I went out to drinks with Julia and her friends, and Julia got very drunk. For context, one of Julia's male classmates, who was with us at the bar, I will call him Alex, has acted inappropriately to her in the past, but Julia decided to forget about it for the good of the group. The whole time we were at the bar, he sat very close to her and even bought her a couple drinks at the end of the night, despite her being obviously incredibly drunk. I live on campus, but Julia lives in an apartment building half an hour away, and since Julia doesn't have a car, she told me she would take public transportation home. When I saw how drunk she was, I decided I would drive her home. But Julia told me Alex had already offered since he lived closer to her. Despite this, I made an executive decision and took her to my car. Julia was very upset, but I thought she was too drunk to understand the potential danger she was in. When we got to my dorm, I put her to sleep in my bed and slept on the couch. That morning, she was upset that I had taken her to my house while she was drunk. She said that I overstepped her boundaries and should have let Alex drive her. I tried to explain that it was for her safety, but Julia truly believed that Alex had no ulterior motives. This conflict has strained our friendship, and Julia says she will be upset with me until I admit that I shouldn't have driven her home without her permission. Am I the asshole? He made an executive decision. You know, to take her home to his bed without any real permission. This is his duty as her, protector, I guess. And he basically wants to assume this other guy is trying to take advantage of her, without a lot of evidence. At least not that he told us. I always like it when the girl says they crossed boundaries and they try to hit her with logic on how actually they didn't, and she was wrong about what her own boundaries were. Fucking brilliant way to romance someone. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he didn't have any ulterior motives, which maybe he didn't, to be fair. Not sure when exactly the plan changed from I'll drive you home to I'll drive you to my home, but most people think that's where he became the asshole. You're the asshole. I can't believe you not only forced her into your car, but also forced her to sleep over in your dorm. Julia says she will be upset with me until I admit that I shouldn't have driven her home without her permission. She's right. Congrats on becoming the newest male classmate to act inappropriately. I'm not sure if OP's actions count as kidnapping in a legal sense, as he didn't prevent her from leaving in the morning, but as you said, he forced someone into his car and brought her into his house against her wishes, and in opposition to other plans for transport and lodging that she had worked out with other people. He's lucky nobody thought Julia went missing or called the cops on him. OP, whatever Alex did that was inappropriate in the past, your actions here are almost certainly an entire order of magnitude worse in that regard. At what point exactly did you decide that your home was actually the better place for her? And why exactly did you decide that? Super weird, and yes, you're the asshole. If you were genuinely concerned about Alex, you could have driven her to her house. But to be honest, the situation in itself makes me doubt your actual perception of Alex. Yeah, he purposely didn't give us some information, it seems. He was vague about this Alex guy and what he actually did in the past, and he was also vague about how drunk Julia was. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a day now. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about some of these rather annoying stories, make sure you let me hear it in the comments. I will be reading them while the video's new. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe if you want more content like this in the near future. Big ups also to my awesome patrons who support me more directly over on Patreon. It helps me do this full time, hopefully. Thank you again for the support. I will be back very soon. I have a couple ideas of things to do already. Well, have a great day, everyone, and make sure to eat a salad for me if you're vegan. That's what they eat.